It looks like just another mansion in the English countryside, a bit run down. But Bletchley Park once contained a secret that fundamentally affected the course of World War II. Because it was at Bletchley that Britain worked out how to read Germany's most secret codes. Since the mid-1930s, all the German armed forces and intelligence departments had adopted a standard machine for encoding their messages. The cipher machine E, better known as Enigma. It was developed in the early 1920s as a handy tool for businessmen to keep commercial messages secret. It was powered by a battery, and its encoded messages were transmitted in Morse code to be decoded on a second Enigma machine at the receiving end. The critical element of the machine was 3 rotors, which could be set to scramble the message in a way which could only be unscrambled by another machine with the same settings. The rotors could be replaced and set differently. As a result, each letter typed could come up in any one of 150 million ways. Given the almost infinite number of settings, it was not surprising that the Germans remained convinced throughout the war that Enigma was uncrackable. It was the Poles who took the first steps in solving this baffling puzzle. They knew of the existence of the Enigma machine and assembled a team of top mathematicians to crack it. Marian Rejewski, Jerzy Rojicki, and Henry Zygalski. But the team could not decipher messages without knowing the internal wiring of the rotors. The solution was supplied by French intelligence, which sent its Polish allies material gathered by a spy in the German army's cipher department. Amongst this was an Enigma manual. The Poles were able to reconstruct an Enigma machine and began laboriously decoding messages. By July 1939, Hitler was sounding increasingly threatening towards Poland. Britain and France had promised to come to its aid. It was clear that war was coming. So intelligence officers from the 3 allies met in Warsaw. There, the British and French were astonished at how much the Poles had done in decoding Enigma, and the Poles agreed to send 2 of their reconstructed machines to London. Just 2 weeks after they were handed over, Poland was invaded. By the time Poland fell to the Germans, the Polish cryptographers had destroyed all evidence of their work on Enigma. Some were captured and tortured, but none revealed what they'd been up to. The task was now taken up by the British at their government code and cipher school at Bletchley Park near London. Its head was Commander Alistair Denniston. Denniston recruited a strange collection of mathematicians, chess masters, and crossword puzzle experts to continue the decoding. Among these experts was Alan Turing at Cambridge Don. In 1936, Turing had described the idea of a universal computing machine, a machine that he believed would one day be able to solve all mathematical problems. He used his ideas to design decryption machines known as bronze goddesses. The raw material for Bletchley came from the British Y service, a chain of radio listening stations which monitored and recorded German transmissions. The messages were fed into Bletchley's bronze goddesses, and permutations ran until at last the key was found. Once a message had been decrypted, it was translated, analyzed, and passed on to the appropriate authority. From the moment he became Prime Minister and learned of Bletchley's work, Winston Churchill understood its extraordinary importance. He referred to Bletchley's output as his ultra-secret information, and ultra became its code name. The distribution of ultra was tightly controlled. Senior commanders were shown only that information which directly concerned their operations. The need to keep the source of the intelligence secret was so great that Churchill insisted that no action could be taken on the basis of ultra material unless a cover plan had been developed to convince the Germans that the intelligence must have come from another source. The third critical element of the Bletchley operation, after decoding and assessing the material, was keeping control of it. Often ultra revealed vital information about German plans and actions. News of forthcoming attacks and other intelligence was filed away in a massive card index system. This was constantly mined for answers to questions great and small. By the end of the war, Bletchley was decoding much of the German traffic almost as fast as it was being sent. It was jokingly said that it would have been quicker for a German commander to ring Bletchley to get his orders. It was at sea that the Allies first became aware of how vital information from ultra could be. An early example of its potential came on June the 8th, 1940. The British aircraft carrier Glorious was covering the convoys withdrawing Allied troops from Norway when Bletchley decoded signals showing the German battlecruisers Scharnhorst and Gneisenau were approaching its position. A warning was passed to Royal Navy headquarters, but unaware of how accurate the information was likely to be, this chose not to pass it on. The Glorious was intercepted and sunk. The British Navy had learned the hard way just how important the new source of intelligence could be. It was not a mistake it would make again. Bletchley also performed a critical role in the build-up to the Battle of Britain. It had provided a clear picture of the Luftwaffe's order of battle and the overall strategy being adopted by its leader, Hermann Goering. This information convinced the head of British Fighter Command, Air Vice Marshal Hugh Dowding, that his tactic of committing his fighters bit by bit rather than in large numbers was the correct one, a tactic that played a crucial part in preserving the RAF's narrow winning margin. As Britain continued its lonely fight into 1941, it had at last found a way of fighting back. Bletchley Park was ready for action. The major breakthroughs had been made, the systems for exploiting them put in place and well tested. In the coming years, Ultra and the work of Bletchley Park would prove vital to the Allied successes. But as the Battle of Britain and the Blitz ground on, these were still a long way off. Churchill still needed more immediate results. And by early 1941, he thought that he had at last found a way to get them.